like, you know, growing up in a black household is not just a monthly deal.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that, and that's probably like, I know for me, what I try to do with my players is I'm always hitting them up with information and facts, regardless if it's February or not. Because that's the one thing now that I'm older that I don't like is just regulated to February.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, y'all get 1 month. Well, our history is the same history as the rest of this country, and I don't see different, let's call it racial groups or different, you know, religious groups or different genders just get a month. You know what I'm saying? So I know, like, in my interactions with my players, with my kids, I got 2 boys or two sons and a daughter. I'm constantly trying to educate them because I don't want them to feel like their history is just 1 month out of the year, if that makes sense. So that's how it's changed for me over time. You know, as I've grown, as I've learned more about history, as I've read more, as I've asked my family more, you know what I'm saying? And then obviously, the older you get, you can step back and see, oh, this is what's being taught, but this is actually what happened. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how, what it was like for me growing up and kind of what it means to me.
I feel like Black History Month is definitely an important topic and subject for us. Like you said, I truly feel like it shouldn't just be about 1 month. It should be a year-round thing. But as far as Black History Month, it's very important to me, you know, just understanding and really focusing on the importance of the adversity that our people had to go through and what they had to experience. So understanding that and learning from that is truly something that, you know, I take pride in and really try to get an understanding of.
No doubt, no doubt. I would say so, like, as a coach, like, the whole reason I got into coaching was to help kids. Like, I was coming out of high school and junior college, I was a knucklehead, man. Like, I wasn't doing the right things all the time. I wasn't accountable. I didn't work as hard as I could. And I had coaches that, hey, when I needed a hug, they hugged me. When I needed a kick in the butt, they did that for me. You know what I mean? And so I want to be that coach that's there for guys, to help guys change as men and be better people. I want to be able to help change cycles in families. Like, I'm proud of, there's a couple guys I've coached that were the first people to get college degrees, and they're going back to their community much better people than that came out of it. You know what I'm saying? And so I definitely look at that. To me, that is what a coach should be. We should be an example of what players should see as far as work habits and what type of men and fathers and husbands, you know what I'm saying? And I try to lead by example. You know, I started a nonprofit organization. I was part of starting one, Coaches Coalition for Progress, which is really aimed at bridging the gap between, like, lower socioeconomic places, you know, neighborhoods, schools, things like that, and law enforcement. It's giving resources back to those kids in the inner city areas that maybe never got those resources. You know what I mean? It was me and 5 other college coaches that got together, and instead of all this talk on Twitter about this needs to change, we're like, hey, let's actually do something about it. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the examples I've tried to give to my players is just, hey, instead of talking about it, because it's easy to talk on social media, like, do something. You know what I mean? Like, you know, be a change and put your words into action. And so that's how I try to set an example for, I think I am, you know what I mean? And I try to hold myself to that type of standard, realizing that, you know, I got a responsibility of 10 to 12 guys that are looking at me and how I do things every single day. Not just my kids, but the players I coach too.
See, for me, it's big because me coming from Tampa, Florida, and all the way to be out here in Pullman, Washington, you know, that's a big leap. So for me, I feel like I just wanted to give kids the chance to challenge themselves. Don't be scared to challenge yourself. It's okay to try new things and try different, you know, scenarios. And like I said, me coming from Tampa to all the way out here, it was I wouldn't say a culture shock, but adjustment that I had to get used to. So I just feel like for the younger kids, man, you can do anything you want, put your mind to.
No.
You can do anything as long as you stick to it and believe in yourself. Because I was a kid that, you know, I wasn't the best in school. I wasn't the best at learning this way or that way, but I put my mind to it and I really stuck with it. And that really helped me to excel and to get where I'm at today.
Sure.
Growing up and going to public school all my life and then to enter a private school, that was a kind of adjustment that I had to get used to. And for me to transition that to all the way out here, it's different. It's totally different. Like you said, going out, getting your haircut, meeting new people, seeing different races. But I feel like we all just have to come together, no matter what color it is, how you feel. Right is right, wrong is wrong.
No doubt. I like, for me coming to Pullman, it's more diverse than the last 2 schools I've been at. You know what I mean? And like, for me, coming from a mixed background, like, I guess I'm used to, I played at North Dakota State and I coached there 10 years. And then I was at the University of Wyoming, and both good places, but less diverse in Pullman. So it's funny, I tell people all the time, me and Coach Rich first got here, like the first week we got here, we're just walking around campus, and we're like, dang, man. We were noticing the diversity where both him and I have been together since NDSU. It wasn't necessarily the case all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's been a positive, you know what I mean? And again, like, I just want to get out and meet new people and see new things. And again, like you said earlier, just continuing my challenge myself to find out about different parts of the country and different people and how they do things. That one of the coolest things we did was one of the nights for Cougar football, right? And I'm talking to these farmers, and they're talking about these bees that only live in this part of Washington that help pollinate the wheat up here. And I'm like, that's cool. I would have never known about that stuff. You know what I mean? So for me, and again, I'll be honest though, sometimes as coaches, we live in a bubble. I'm up on the 5th floor, I'm down in the weight room, we're at the practice field. And so for me, like, I see diversity, I see a football team and staff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I think we have a very diverse team and staff. So I know there's times I got to be careful because I'm like, yeah, everything's cool, but I'm not in your guys' shoes being more social because, shoot, at night I'm going home with a wife and kids.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that's something I always got to keep in the back of my head. It's like, hey, it may be a great experience for you and everything's good for you because in your little bubble that you work in and spend the majority of the time in, yeah, the strength staff's really diverse. The football team's really diverse. We got guys from all over the place. The staff's really diverse. Well, I'm not 18 to 22 either. You know what I mean? Like, the way my life operates is different than you. I go home with a wife and kids every night.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I guess to go back on it, it's been really good. And it's been probably an improvement, definitely from the last couple of places I've been at.
Yeah, it's a true improvement. Even with me being here with the Black Student Athlete Association, with them coming in, helping us out, it's about bringing everybody together.
Mm-hmm.
Once everybody's on the same page and really understanding and figuring out the end goal and how can we get better, how can we help one another,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that's what it's all about. So it truly has been a productive and positive light for us.
I think the Black Student Association has been really, like, this is the first school I've been at that's had that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's been, and Derek and Brian Blair have invited me and a couple of coaches to be on a couple of different Zooms. I think that's a really cool outlet and asset for you guys, for us, not just you guys, but yeah, for you guys as student athletes to have here, because I've been in schools where they didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of had to do that on your own. I remember as a player, you kind of naturally gravitated toward the brothers, the people you knew on your own, but to have that forum and platform, and then I think to have the administration here that supports it, you know what I mean? I think that's a really cool deal. Not cool, I think it's a really powerful thing that I think sometimes maybe student athletes don't recognize maybe how unique that is. You know what I'm saying? And that you got administrators that get behind it, want to support the student athletes, want the student athletes to feel like they have a group like that, to be able to express, you talk about getting your hair cut or find somewhere to eat, or, all the things for us culturally that we would go home and do naturally, to be able to share those things and either find those things to do here or at least be able to talk about them and feel like you're in a comfort zone where, hey, when you're talking about it, somebody understands where you're coming from.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you and I could sit down and talk about that and somebody else might not understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And until you're a part of those conversations, you don't really know.
Me going to a predominantly white high school and me coming all the way out here, sometimes you can get stereotyped. People don't understand kind of some of the things you like, some of the things you probably went through. You just have to, what I do, I just pray for people. I pray for one another. So if it's something someone don't understand, if they don't understand how I act or the way I conversate or what I like or what I dislike, just pray for them. Like, talk to them, have a conversation, have them understanding what your thoughts are. So I just try to get that out there so for people can get a better understanding of where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm. No, you hit it on the head, and I've experienced a lot in the coaching world is the stereotype of he's a black coach, so he's a recruiter, or he's a black coach, so he's only going to coach these certain positions. You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely those stereotypes, and when you look at the whole of like college football, well, even though it's predominantly made up of black young men, how few head coaches or offensive and defensive coordinators there are. You know what I mean? And those I know, as I would call myself, part of the younger generation of coaches, black coaches that are coming up, those are the stereotypes that I want to be a part of breaking. To be a black defensive coordinator, to be a black head coach. Because to me, just like when Barack Obama was president, now for the first time, kids, like, we could look at our black children and go, you can be president.
Exactly.
Up until Obama, like, you could say it, but we never got to see it, you know what I mean? And I want the same to be said. And there's been some great black coaches that have come before us, you know, Tony Dungy. I mean, you know, there's quite a few out there right now, but there's not enough, especially when you look at the percentages compared to how many black kids are playing football. And so that's what I want to be a part of, changing those things. But there's a lot of stereotypes within the college football, or just call it the football system in general, that say, well, you know, black coaches only coach this position or that position. And there was, you know, Alonzo Carter, the running back coach out of San Jose, kind of put together some Zooms throughout COVID, throughout the summer and into the fall, of just minority coaches. And it was awesome for us because they were tools. Like, they had some of the biggest names in coaching on there. Like, hey, this is how you go through an interview. This is what ADs are looking for. This is how you build your resume. Like, just going through all the things as a coach to help uplift. Like, these guys didn't have to do that, but they were trying to help us break the stereotypes and be the next group of coaches that come up to continue to grow and develop and mentor young men. You know what I mean? And give young men, like we were talking about earlier, like leaders and people of example they can follow.
Someone can look up to.
Yeah, exactly right. You know what I mean? So, but I agree with you. It's, you know, it's the stereotypes. It's, oh, I thought, you know, and I get it sometimes because I'm light skinned. Oh, I didn't think you were black.
Yeah.
Well, how am I supposed to look? Am I supposed to talk a certain way? You know what I mean? Like, what you trying to say here? You know what I mean? And I'm kind of the same way. Oh, with time, I've gotten better. I used to have a pretty sharp tongue with it. I'm not going to lie. I used to call people pretty quickly on it. But again, just like you talked about, I've tried to educate people. You know what I'm saying? And try to open their minds, open their eyes and ears to, hey, what you said is either it's way off base or it's wrong, or but let me explain to you why. Let me explain how it comes off. You know what I mean? Because part of me being light skinned, I also kind of hear some of the conversations because people don't realize I'm black. So I catch some things that people don't even realize they're saying it, and I'm like, oh, so that's how you really feel. You know what I mean? So I think been a blessing and a curse, you know what I mean? And I take it all in as that's someone else's opinion. I'll try to educate them, and if they want to learn from it, great. If not, I'm going to keep it pushing and stay around people that are positive and have the like mindset, if that makes sense.
For me, I feel like a black man and woman both is my parents. You know, having both my parents in my life is something that is a blessing to me because not a lot of people have that. And as far as, you know, history itself, a woman that I truly look up to is Harriet Tubman. Her being able to go back, you know, free the slaves and all the things that she did is something that I truly take in, and she taught me to the never give up mentality. No matter what happens, no matter how hard it gets, you can finish the job and, you know, do what's right.
Definitely. No, for me it was, you know, my dad. He passed away a couple of years ago, but was definitely a big influence on me and the man I've become. You know what I mean? And the older I get, like anytime you get older, I don't care where you come from, you kind of start to see what your parents were trying to do. And now I look back, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. You were trying to be hard on me because you knew the world was going to treat me differently. You know what I mean? They were going to look at me differently. They were going to hold me to a different expectation than maybe someone with a different skin color background. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I get it now. Probably him, and then my grandma. His mother, you know, my nana, she was like a rock. She was the core of the family, man. And I look back now, I see where I get my energy. See where I get my sharp tongue, boy, because she was, if you said or did the wrong thing, she was on you. You know what I mean? Now, I was also lucky. I was the youngest, like, grandchild too, so I was her baby too. You know what I mean? You feel me? So she took care of me. She probably spoiled me more than any of the other grandchildren. But she was definitely, I just look at how strong of a woman she was, raising kids during segregation. She was born in, like, I think the late 1819 or 1920, somewhere in there, you know what I'm saying? And just what a strong woman looked like coming from that era and everything she had seen and been through and done, you know what I mean? It's, again, as I get older, it's very, like, when you're able to see what we go through now, and then shoot, in some cases you got to multiply that by 10, 15, or 20, you know, what the generations before us went through. Like, I have even more respect for her, who she was as a person, and just, she was a strong black woman, you know what I mean? And she didn't take anything from anybody, you know what I mean? And I think in the black community that needs to be celebrated, you know what I'm saying?
Black History Month shouldn't just be about 1 month. It should be a year-round thing. It should be taught throughout every university. Every person, every child should, you know, come up learning about it. And like I said, we have to expand, get people to understand our side of things and what we understand and what our people had to go through, and just, you know, get it out there, break the stereotypes, break the curses of, you know, this person should do this or this person should do that. Let's all just come together and just work on it as a country, as a group.
I agree, man. I'm 100% with you. And I hopefully, while let's call it this last year of COVID and the racial unrest in the country, I think that's really started to open people's eyes to, oh, you know, I think a lot of people thought out 2019, 2020 that things are good, and you know, I always hear things have gotten better. Well, that's great, it's gotten better, but I'm not satisfied with better. You know what I mean? I just want the same opportunity to be looked at the same as the person next to me, regardless of the color.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And with all of the hard things that we've gone through as a country this year, you know, sometimes when you're going through hard things, that's when growth happens. If that makes sense.
Open up your eyes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm really hoping for, and especially when you're talking about Black History Month, I think more people are saying exactly what you said is, why is it just 1 month? Why can't we talk about Black history is this nation's history, right? And so it needs to be talked about in the same breath, you know what I mean, and shown the same amount of respect, you know, and the same attention. So I keep saying I hope, because I do have hope, you know what I mean, trying to be positive. There are days, as you know, where, man, it's hard, you know what I mean, and it gets frustrating. But I also look at it like the people before us, right, wrong, or different, probably went through harder times. And they still persevered, and to me, we have that responsibility to continue to pass on that positive message and to continue fighting and working for the things that are right. You know what I mean?